Hello and welcome. I'm Shadow of Shadow Gaming, bringing you Programming with Shadow, episode number 75. I thought, given it a little bit of thought, and I believe we're going to do a program today and for the next couple of lessons. So I've went through what I wanted to do, and I think we're going to do like we're going to make a leaderboard, some kind of game leaderboard. I didn't plan out any kind of game, just that's what we're going to work from, and we're going to add a leaderboard. And in doing so, we're going to use some of the different data structures we've talked about in the past little bit. In particular, we're going to look at a hash table, a dictionary in C Sharp, a heap. It'll be a max heap this time instead of a min heap. Could possibly use the priority queue, but I'm tempted to just use heap on it. And then one of the trees. I actually haven't decided which tree. Maybe we'll try both and see if we see any performance difference. But I believe that's going to be the next scope of work, and that's where we're going to begin today. We're going to lay out the rough structure first of all. So I've got a program set up here. Right now it does nothing. So where I think I want to start is let's make a class. We'll do a public class leaderboard manager. If I can spell. So this will be the class that actually runs everything. So what I'm thinking is we'll need some way to store players, so we'll need a player as well. So let's add a public player. And this class could probably be a record. I haven't thought through. We may experiment with that later, but we'll start by making it a class, and we may adjust later. So we'll have a string. We'll have a name, and this could be a username, whatever. And I'll need a score. So I'm leaving ID and name is set. They're only going to be set in the constructor. Score could be updated later, so we'll allow an initial score, but then you can update it, and that's going to be the main functionality of the player. I think we may do some work on the setter for score to adjust how it can adjust the score. Maybe we'll start here. We'll do a constructor. Let's see, it'll need an int ID, string name, int score, just like that. Well, did not work. So something like that, and I guess we could probably make this a primary constructor. Is that what it says? Yeah. So yeah, we'll do that. So there's this constructor. I'm not going to fill them out just yet, but let's also do a public class max heap and public class. This is going to be one of the trees. I'm not sure which one yet, so we'll do red black tree. So these are the sort of the classes though I'm thinking I'm going to need. So back here in the leaderboard manager now. So it will need, I said we're going to use a hash table. So the purpose of the hash table is going to be as a, it's going to give us a way to look up players basically. So we're going to use the built-in type dictionary. So dictionaries represents a collection of keys and values, and it's using a hash table under the scene. So we'll use it, and we'll have an ID, int, and a player, and we'll call it players. I think probably can be read only because I don't think once you create it you'll need it again. So I guess we need to declare it. There, and we can use the new format. There we go. So we'll have, so there will be players. Since it's private, we'll want to this is private, by the way. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, but if you don't specify specify for members, private's the default. For classes, I think it's internal, or for methods, I think it's internal. So if I do add player and don't specify anything, let's see what it actually is. Throw new not implemented exception. So it does not say. So I think it's actually private. So private then. So we'll make it public. We'll need a way to remove players. So public will remove player int player ID. Throw new not implemented exception. So we'll come back and fill these out. We're thinking through the architecture first. So we'll need a search, public player, so let's do find player, int player ID, something like that. Throw new not implemented exception. We'll need to update score, so we'll have public void update score, int player ID, int points. There. So we find the player by ID that returns the player, and then we can get the name. We can find the player and see their score. Okay. So I think that's where I want to start from. Yeah. All right. So let's do some functionality. So we're going to do a menu like we've done before. So we'll just do while true. So we'll have several options. So first off, we'll do, let's see what we're doing. So we'll do console.writeLine. Then we'll do a new line, empty line, I guess. Let's do add a player first. So we will do one dot add player. Two dot I was going to do remove. Let's do find player next. Try to keep this in the order you would actually use them. So update may be more common than find them. So those may actually need swapped. Update score for remove players. So now here's some other functionality. So here's where the functionality we're going to use to show the other features. All of them there could just use the dictionary and be perfectly fine. We're also going to have a 5 show top players. So give it some kind of, these are the top players and the ranking. For that that's where we're going to use the minimum heap, or maximum heap, sorry. We'll have a 6 show rankings. So the idea with that is I'm going to use it for the tree structure. So we'll use it to see what or how players compare with some of the other players, and use the tree to do that more efficiently. Next, we'll have I don't want to hard code a bunch of players, so we'll have some way to generate players. We'll probably save them off to a text file and do some of that too, since we haven't done that in a while. And then 8 exit. That's what I think of. Those are the functionalities I think I want. So we will do a new line. All right, now for input equals console.readLine or empty string. All right. So then we'll need our, we'll need to handle all these methods, so we'll just use a switch, I think. So case number 1. Here, we'll just do it like this first. We'll throw new, not implemented, exception, add player so we can remember the order more easily. Break's not required here but until we get rid of the throw, but I'm going to include it nonetheless. So for 2, we did find players. 3, we did update score. 4, we did remove player. Remote player. Remove player. 5, we did show top players. 6, show rankings. And 7, generate players. And finally 8. 8 is easy, we can implement 8. From this we will want to return. Default case, we will do console.writeLine. Please make a selection, period, and break. Alright, so there's just a rough structure. So let's see. So the thing we'll have to keep in mind here is when we update scores. So when we update scores, we're going to have 3 different data structures. We'll have the dictionary. That'll be the primary one, but then we'll also have the min heap and whichever tree I end up deciding. So we'll have to update it in both of them, or all 3 places. So we'll have to keep that in mind. So the probable approach, there's probably other things you could do, like you could probably even do some kind of update for them, but I think the easiest for us will be to go remove the actual record and then update the score and then reinsert it. I believe that would probably be best. So we may have to customize the heap a little bit. We could probably go ahead and do some of the add player functionality actually. Let's see, what else would I want? Let's see. Let me check my notes. What else did I want to do? Yeah, I believe that's a good enough starting point. So let's do add player, find player. Okay. So add player. So let's start there. The main functionality for adding a player, we'll end up calling this function. So we need a leaderboard manager first. So up here, let's do that. Let's do leaderboard manager. So that's what eventually gets called. So we'll eventually do leaderboard manager dot add player. But to do that, we'll need to create a player. So player to add equals new. So we'll need an ID, one, name, and score. So we'll need to collect those. So let's do that first. So let's do this. CW, we'll do add player. Let's separate it like that. Let's do one extra. And now we'll ask for ID. So we'll just do console.write ID console.readline. I think that'll get us an ID. So we'll put this into var ID. We'll do that string ID because it's a string, or empty. Let's see, we'll need the name, so we can do the same thing. So console.write name string name equals console.readline, and we will need a score, so we'll do console.write score. We might come back and make these a little more resilient, but I think this will be a good enough starting point. So score equals that. So that gets us most of the functionality we need for add. We need to pass this to player to add, and we need to actually customize these. So here we will need to parse that. So again, we should make that better, but we will do int.parse ID name int.parse score. There we go. So there's this add player. So the first thing I'm going to note is that this is going to get big and unwieldy pretty quick. So what we can do is up here we can add a private static void add player, and we'll pass it in a leaderboard manager. We'll do it like that. Now let's do it like this. Let's return the player. And maybe get player to add, maybe something like that. Then we can just do all this in here and return player to add. What we could do here, we could move this down and make it that way as well. I don't see a lot of benefit from that. The compiler will optimize that for us, but I think this will be fine. So we will get var, we will get player player to add equals get player to add. That's in our leaderboard manager. And if we didn't want to do that, I guess we could even just go even full out and just do that. So something like that, I guess, would also work. So that should get us our player. So we could test that. Let's do a well, it's going to throw. So let's stick a breakpoint here, and we will enter one, and let's see what happens. So that'll throw an exception because we're not actually adding it yet. So we'll add a player, ID 5, name, test, score 42. So if we check our player here, it should have all those set. And if it does, we should be good. 5, test, and 42. Okay. So throw, not implemented exception, and we are done. All right. So player to add. So what I'm imagining here for actually adding the player is that there's going to need to be some handling for duplicates. So the way I think to do duplicates in this case is maybe we throw the exception. That gives us some exception handling on the other side. The other way is we could do a we could return something from add player here, maybe return an exit code or a status code. Get some experience doing that as well. We could go that route. I'm going to start with the exception, and that's a little more what I would normally think for C#, but we may actually adapt it for the other one, so we may keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and start putting some to-dos. So to-do, make input handling more robust. Let's do this. Let's do if players contains that, throw new invalid operation exception. Player ID already exists. We can remove my breakpoint here. All right, so if it already exists, we're done. If it doesn't exist though, then we can go ahead and add it. So if we do players dot, we could do triad. Here, let's do. Let me pull up a Google real quick. C# dictionary triad. Let's see what it does. Triad attempts to add the specified key value to the dictionary. And like the add method, this method does not throw an exception if the element with the given key exists. And like the dictionary index or triad, doesn't override it if it exists. Triad does nothing and returns false. That seems exactly what we want to do. So instead of that, let's rework this logic. So let's do this. Let's do bool result gets player dot triad. We will do player ID and player. That should be player dot ID. So that gets us a result. And now, if not result, then we throw this. Do I like the semantics of that? Wait a minute. I might want to make that a try add player and do it just similar like that and return something. Here, let's do it like this. We'll consider that to do. Consider making or adding a try add to return true, false, or maybe result. So we'll think about that and come back to that decision later. That should get us an add player now. So let's see what happens. So we will currently, the exception will kill our operation. So let's add, we'll add player 5 with the name test, score of 42. We'll add player number 3 with the name of test2 and a score of 99. We'll add player 5 with the name duplicate and a score of 43. Let's do 42, but it doesn't matter. But throw exception, unhandled exception. All right. So here's why I think I would rather do it as a try method, because what I'm going to do now is do something like this. So try that, catch an invalid operation exception, ex message, and I think that's all we want to do. So now if we add a player, we'll do 5 test 42, add a player 5 test 42, and now the player ID already exists, and then it tries again, doesn't kill it. So that works. Yeah, that works at least. So usually you don't want to, usually you don't want to do a try catch for handling like this. So for us, we don't really notice it, or that was really quickly. Does it show up here? One, 5 test 42, and it's showing up like I want it to. Yeah, I think I clicked don't debug, didn't I? Wait a minute. There. So add a player 5 test 42. So if we watch over here, we should see I created something. So everything's all right. The CPU here, pretty much trivial. Let's do this. We'll add 5 test 43. You couldn't really see anything there. So when it does an exception, there's some handling that happens, and it's apparently not enough to be noticeable. So for one exception, if we're doing a lot of that, like say if we do that generate one and we generate a lot of players, maybe at that point it becomes a little more significant, is what I'm thinking. I guess at that point though we would want to. There's a saying of computer science to avoid premature optimization. I know that this would. I know that we can get to this being a problem, so I'm going to actually leave us to do, but let's not fix it for now. To do. See what happens if we add 10,000 players. Add a lot of players. So I'm acknowledging that that's a problem and we can do better. We can make that a triad, like I said, and then it's just going to return bool, and it's going to be a lot more trivial, but we're going to leave it as is for now. We're trying to get just doing broad strokes of our architecture and see what we can get in place. So here we're also starting to get a little more code here again. So let's do this. Let's do let's pull this out into another method. Private static void handle player. Passing in leaderboard manager. And it's just going to do all this stuff. And we will do handle player. That's not what I wanted to call it. Let's call it Control RR handle adding player. Let's rename it one more. Handle add player. There. All right. So there's us a method. And we've got what, 3 to-dos already. So we'll keep going on this, but we will probably do some more work here. So triad, let's look at it just a little bit. So triad attempts to add it, and if it's successful, it doesn't throw an exception basically. So if we add, let's do this. Let's player.add player.id player. So let's test what happens in this case. So here we'll ignore all this just a second. So add does duplicates as well, but it does them differently. So 5 test 42, 5 test 2 43. There we get an argument exception. An item with the same key has already been added. So that's what happens with the regular add method. So it throws an exception there. I don't think it returns anything, does it? Yeah, it's void, so it doesn't actually return a value, but if you do a duplicate, it throws an exception. So to do it properly, what you would want to do is what I was trying to originally. If players dot, if it doesn't contain the key that, then add it, and you would want to do your opposite side of error handling. So that would be if you did it with the add method. There's another behavior though you can do. So you can also do it like this. So there's also a players at player.id gets player. So that'll also add. So let's see what happens with this. And for this one, let's do a breakpoint here. So this one's a little harder to see what it does, so we'll do this. So we'll add ID 5, name test, and score of 42. All right, so keep that in mind. So now we will do ID 5, name test 2, different name, different score. I hit the wrong one, didn't I? This one. So 5 test 42. Here I'm going to just hit continue. 1. So same ID, name, test 2, and scored 99. Now let's see what happens. So currently, players like this. We're adding that player. So now let's see what happens. So we step over. So it's going to be F10. This one. F10. And there, it overwrote it. So that's what this one does. So if you use the indexer, it overwrites, does not throw an exception. If you use add, it throws an exception. If you use try add, it tries to add it and returns true or false. So that's the 3 methods I know of adding. I will say most of the time I've ever done this, it's been this one or this one. I've very seldom actually used add. So this highlights two issues. First issue, I want to go back to my original. So let's do this. Let's do let's add a comment here. Let's remember why. So this overwrites the player while we want it to not duplicate. This throws an argument exception for a duplicate key. And this returns true, false if depending on if the add was successful or not due to duplicate. Something like that. And we will eventually come back and clean this up because we've still got the to-dos in place, but we'll keep that in mind first. So let's do this. Let's add a actual comment here. So add a new player to the manager if the player ID does not currently exist. The player to add to the manager. Thrown in the case that there is a duplicate ID in the place that the ID already exists. Maybe something like that. So that gives us one function here. We can probably do remove player. Go ahead and do it real quick. So let's do it. Let's go ahead and add it. So let's do the same thing here. We'll do handle, remove player, leaderboard manager, and we'll do it just like we did here. Private static void handle remove player. So this one's not going to be all that complex either. We will do leaderboard manager dot remove player, and we'll need to get a player ID. So player ID. So let's do this. Int player ID equals get player ID. I'm not sure we need the leaderboard manager in this case. What did we use it for here? We don't use it. I wanted to ask Copilot. Wait a minute. That's dumb. I think it's getting dumber instead of better. There. So yeah, I don't think we need that here. And in fact, let's do this. Let's just move this up here to... We're not going to use it anywhere else, so we can just set it as a local one in here. Like that. We can do that here as well. Return. And then static. Static int get player ID. So here we will do console.write line the more I'm thinking about this, the less I want to separate this one out actually. Let's do it like this. Let's do console.write. We'll do it, let's just do remove player. Console.read line or empty string, player string, player ID, player ID string equals this. So now I'm just going to do the same thing before, int.parse player ID string, and there we go. That one did need this. Wait a minute. There. And here, I don't think we need any of this now. So we all have a to do here. To do, make input handling more robust. But I think that'll get us a remove player basically working as well. So let's come on down here to where we actually have a remove player method here. This one's removing it from the data structure. So we have the player ID. So now we will just do this. So let's do players dot remove. There's a remove. Is there a try remove? There's not. So I think it's just remove is all we want to do. Removes the value of the specified key from the dictionary. So remove player ID. And it returns true or false, right? True or false. True if the element is found and removed, false otherwise. I think that's all we want to do. So here, bool result equals this. So if result, we will print a message. Console.write line player was successfully removed. Else console.write line player does not exist. So there's a rough how we could present it. I guess technically we could just make this a ternary. I do not want to convert to else. I'll leave this as is like for now. So the one thing I think there is maybe we would want to do more work here. Like maybe we'd want to retrieve the player and display a little more information. So let's keep that in mind. Consider if we want to retrieve the player and display the name. So maybe we would want to do that. I'm not sure. Let's add a to-do there. So that's pretty much the end of time, but that adds us 2 methods here. Let's make sure remove actually works. We will go to, let's just add one here. So let's hit the breakpoint. So we'll add a player. We'll add player number 5 with the name test with a score of 42. Now we will remove player 3. And here it was false because the player doesn't exist. Makes sense. So yeah, we have one player here. So good. So continue. Player does not exist. Leaderboard. I sort of like how that looks, but maybe we might consider if we need to add more spacing in here later. So 4, we'll remove player 5. Now it's true because it was removed. So now there's just no one in there's 0 count. So that's good. So there, player 5 was successfully removed. Maybe instead of that, we just want to say was removed. I'm going to leave it as successfully, but maybe we want to change that. So let's do someone that doesn't exist, and we get that same message again, right? Yes, the player did not exist, and we did not crash. Good. All right, so one thing I want to do let's change this to record. We haven't talked much about records. I think we actually did mention them once. Let's do this. I guess I can't do it where I've got this as a setter. Let's do it like this. Let's revert that to not a primary constructor. Int ID. String name, int score, ID equals ID, name equals name, score equals score. And now we will remove this. We'll remove these. Okay. So why do I want to consider doing that? Let's see if we can do that. So now let's look at that in the, if we add a player here, add player 5, give them the name test, 42, and then we go to remove them. Now, well, we removed them actually. That's bad. Wait a minute. Let's add them again. 5, test, 42. Now we go to remove player 2. Now, if we look at the leaderboard here, and I'm going to expand it down here in my watch window. Now it shows us the player here, the player's values. So we could have did a 2-string override and done this exact same thing, or we could do that. So the record lets you, it has some built-in methods. It has ones there for, you have an equality contract, so it's able to see if the, basically you can check if the players equal each other already. You don't have to implement all that yourself. It gives you the 2-string already built in. I think for our case right now, this will work. We may see in the future that some case where I need to convert it back. I don't foresee anything, so I think record will be fine for our purposes. And it gives us our debugger display. We don't have to do any special conversion there. It should just work. Yeah, quite a few elements here of the quality contract. It basically gives us some built-in niceties though that I think we'll actually take use of just a little bit. I'm going to swap it to record now, and we'll consider that decision later. But I think that's a pretty good start. So in upcoming lessons, we'll keep going through. We'll work on some of these other methods and go from there. So I guess really quickly no, let's not do really quickly. We will come back to this. So let me add 2 to-dos. Consider big O notation. Okay, so that's pretty much that's a good enough stopping point. So like I said, we'll continue with this next time. We may start trying to adjust some of these to-dos, or we may just keep going and try to get the basic functionality down first, and then work on the to-dos. So we will stop here though. So this has been a start of a program. We're going to have a leaderboard manager. We're going to keep working on that for the upcoming lessons. So we'll stop here. So thanks for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.